All right, all right, all right. Well, first off, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to our second segment From the Grid to the Rim and everything in between. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Darylyn Brown. With me are my colleagues and good friends and uncle Monty Brown, as well as Kenneth Fry. First off, before we start off this segment, just a real quick shout out to Trixley Designs, who designed this beautiful background for us and helping us kind of get this thing started. So we want to give her a great shout out to Ange. Thank you so much for the work.
Thank you, Ange. Good job.
We are very ecstatic of this design. We are loving it, and we are definitely going to roll with it and continue just to give you a shout out and all the praise, for an excellent job for helping us out with that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and just kind of dive right into it, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and talk about March Madness, because it is straight madness, as we can all agree. We'll just kind of discuss some of our hot takes and what we took from the weekend. Now, I wasn't unfortunately able to catch every game, but there is a lot to talk about in such a short amount of time. So we want to, I want to kind of go ahead and start opening up about this Purdue loss. I mean, I think that was the one seed that we knew was going to go down eventually. They had one of the toughest roads known to man, and I didn't see them. Maybe to the Sweet 16 at best, but I just couldn't see it through the whole way. And who would have thought, FDU just came out of nowhere and just busted their bubble real big, and so that loss to Purdue, them boys were scrappy, them boys were just getting after it. The way I saw the game, creating Purdue was, allowing them to create foul shot opportunities. There wasn't a lot falling their way, and they got outplayed, out rebounded, FDU, man, that bunch right there was a feisty bunch. And they really just got after it. And so of all the small teams in the country that were fighting and biting and scratching and clawing, collapsing and closing down them lanes on Purdue, and Purdue could not answer. So that was one of my biggest takeaways. My Cinderella of the team was Drake. I was really looking for big things to come from Drake's, but Miami's defense showed up. Anybody that picked Miami, they are a true dark horse of this tournament, in my opinion. They defense just really showed up. They full court press. They have big shots. And even when Wanye didn't even show up, the rest of his team showed out. Okay. And so that was my big takeaway. My biggest takeaway was Houston. Houston was against the wall. They were against the wall at halftime. But I never, and this is my first time really just kind of seeing them in full-fledged action. A lot of pundits said that if they got into foul trouble, that would be a problem. And that's what happened. Auburn got them in the foul trouble. They got a lot of their bigs in the foul trouble, especially their backcourt with Sasser and Shed. But who came to play? I forgot that kid's name. Okay, Chris Mark, and that other and Mark and Sharp, that backcourt that came and subbed in for them. They didn't do the best job, but that boy Mark really showed up and showed out. I mean, he's the one that really kept them in the game when Auburn had everything going for them to really close out the game with Sasser and Shed on the bench. And they really just kind of showed up, and they bench kind of showed up. And so I took that away from the game. What really killed Auburn was it really came down to failed execution. They had that game won. They had with Sasser and Shed on the bench, and they just could not execute. Free throws absolutely killed them. And they just had their chance to take them out, and they just didn't. And the other two, and when Sasser and Shed came back in the game, it was pretty much game over. Houston was having fun with them. They big started showing up, dunking all over the place. And I thought this was like Phi Slamma Jamma reincarnated, in my opinion. So I really took some big things, and it's a reason why I have Houston #1. And if them Jokers can stay out of foul trouble, I don't see anybody beating them. I think they'll have problems, but I just don't see anybody beating them if they can stay out of foul trouble. So those were just a few of my hot takes from this weekend's games.
Okay, well done, Dwayne. Hey, I'd like to do a shout out to Angie. Also, I hope I said your name. Hope I said your name right. The background looks amazing. Unfortunately, I couldn't get on today, but it was an amazing job, and I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah.
And Dwayne, thanks for setting this up for us. My hot takes was obviously Purdue, because I picked them to win the whole tournament, and I knew they were suspicious, but I just thought they would have. They lost 2 times in the first round. Now it's 3 times in the first round. I just thought they wouldn't lose 3 times in the first round. I thought they'd break that curse, but I knew they would have some tough games later on. I thought their tough game would be like maybe in the Sweet 16 versus like a Michigan State, Marquette, something. That's where I thought their tough game would be, and I just didn't see them losing to Farley Dickinson. But now they're the second #1 seed to lose in the first round for #1 seed. So that's crazy. But I did predict Furman, so I'm happy about Furman. I predicted Furman to win. I predicted Furman to upset Virginia because I know Virginia's suspect. They lost Purdue did in the first round in 2018. So I knew it could happen again. Like I think Virginia's suspicious how they play. They play slow and they let the team stay in the game, and that's an upset in the making, in my opinion. Their playing style that isn't good, and that's just me. So so I was happy about Furman. I thought they might get past San Diego State. I thought if they could win 1, they might be able to win 2. So Furman was my Cinderella. But San Diego State, I watched that game. Furman got off to a good start. The first 10 minutes was back and forth. After that, San Diego State just took over. I mean, I saw San Diego State play once in the first round. I mean, earlier in the season, I think in their conference tournament. But that defense, man, they were all over Furman. I think San Diego State and Tennessee have the 2 best defenses right now playing in the tournament, because I saw the Tennessee-Kentucky game also, and they locked. Not Kentucky, but Tennessee and Duke. And Duke gave them a good game, but Tennessee was physical, and they couldn't. The freshmen from Duke couldn't hang with the physicality of Tennessee. So, and of course, I know Monty will share Kansas. I did watch the first half of that game before I went to go do some football refereeing for the flag football, the little kids I do. But the first half, they looked good. Kansas looked really good in the first half, and I'll let Monty expand on more. But then I didn't see the second half, and I looked up at my phone, and it was blowing up, and everyone was telling me how Kansas got upset. So I was like, you got to be kidding me. I went to go do some flag football games, and now Kansas is losing. So, that was what I saw. Another big thing I saw was all the 5 seeds won. That surprised me. I thought at least 1 5 seed to lose. I don't know when that's happened. At least 1 always goes down, sometimes 2. And Drake came close to pulling it out, but they just but you mentioned that, Dwayne. But that was my L. And my last thing before I get to Monty was I saw the K-State Kentucky game. That was the best game I think I've seen in the tournament so far. That K-State Kentucky game was really, really good. I liked how they played. It was back and forth all game. It was intense, and K-State, that little guard of K-State, man, Noel, he can play. I don't know if you guys have seen him play, but that little K-State guard is a beast, and he willed them to a victory. So that was my takes.
All right, it's Monty here. Angie, heck of a job with these logos here. Excellent, love them. Perfect fit. Good job. We appreciate it. Dwayne, thanks for hooking us up with that. Good job. Where do I start? My take on this: Kansas, Purdue had both of those teams in the final. Both lost. I don't know if that's ever happened to me before. Didn't get to see either one of those games, but man, this is what March Madness is all about. I mean, you never know. You see teams that are unfamiliar with each other, and this is what we get. I read somewhere that FDU team, their average height is 6'1". Just think about that for a second. That's crazy.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I'm 6'4", so I'm taller than those guys.
Yeah, so how can that be an average for a college team? They be the #1 seed. Wow. That's something else.
Yeah, it is true.
My biggest disappointment well, they're always my disappointment, was Arizona. I usually stay away from them because they disappoint me every year, and I stayed away from them this year to an extent, and they end up losing the first round. So it's crazy. And my question is, I'm wondering if it's just if teams are catching up, or is just a fluke. I mean, it's weird. Maybe these smaller teams are recruiting better just to stay with these other teams.
I think it's getting better.
Yeah, it's wide open. We're seeing more two seeds lose more often than we used to. This won't be the last time we'll see a 16 seed. The last time that happened was what, 5 years ago, when Virginia was knocked out. So, yeah, that's my takeaway on this. This is the craziest year I've seen in March Madness. I mean,
and I'll just piggyback a little bit on what you were saying, Monty, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but some of these smaller schools are maintaining more of their players. Right. There ain't a whole bunch of one and dones. A lot of these Power 5, Power 6 teams, a lot of these other smaller schools ain't one and dones. They come with a lot more experience and a lot more chemistry as a team. A team that have been playing with each other for years, or at least 2 to 3 years. And so that's why you start seeing so many upsets. And they play maybe a different ball that some of these Power 5, Power 6 schools haven't seen. So I give them credit. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into our Sweet 16, because there's a whole bunch of intriguing matchups. I'll just tell you just a couple of the matchups that I'm very intrigued to see. Houston and Miami. If Miami plays the way they played against Houston, Houston's in trouble, and I have Houston winning the whole thing. That is an intriguing matchup. Creighton and Princeton is a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah,
we're talking about maybe some Ivies going at it. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? That's a very intriguing matchup. With the way Princeton is playing, don't count them out. And Arkansas, UConn. I think that's just going to be a knockdown drag out. The way Arkansas has been balling out and playing, who would have thought? They finally came together, put it together after all the problems they've been having throughout the year, and they finally put it together, and it looks like they got something going. Mm-hmm. And then how are we going to find out how the West is won between Gonzaga and UCLA? I mean, so every game in the Sweet 16, this is where it starts to become a knockdown drag out, and Gonzaga UCLA is a very intriguing matchup. But so far, I still have three of my teams that I picked to go to the Final Four still in play, which are the Zags, Houston, and Alabama. So we'll see.
Yeah, good point. Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, well, since both my teams out, I did redo my bracket. I have Alabama and Houston in the final. I have no choice. But I have Houston winning this whole thing. The team that I'm watching out for is Mr. Izzo's team. Probably the best coach left in the tournament. You can't count out Michigan State. Yes, Alabama's going to give them trouble, but do not be surprised if they pull off that upset and end up in the final.
I agree.
Tom Izzo's always there. He's been there. He knows what this tournament's all about.
I agree.
Like I mentioned last time we spoke, I'm interested
10 minutes,
in
guys. 10 minutes.
Up. Yeah. What was that?
10 minutes left, so I got the timer.
Cool. Okay. Real quick, let me touch on this Xavier and Texas matchup. The guard from Xavier, Sule Boom, and Rodney Terry coaching that team, the guy that recruited him at UTEP. I'll be keeping a close eye on that one. So this Sweet 16 will be something to watch. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, I'm really interested in you guys mentioned it, but UCLA, Gonzaga, very interested in that. Gonzaga got a good fight from TCU. They were down at halftime, but they pulled out the win. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch that game because I only get CBS, but I was following that closely on my phone. That was a close game throughout. That was a tight game, and TCU gave them all they could handle. My intriguing matchup is Michigan State and K-State. I already talked about K-State's guard. That he's like the UCLA guard. He's under 6 foot. He's like 5'9", 5'10". I don't think he's even that tall. I think they're giving him some height. He might be 5'8". He's small, but he's a beast, and he plays with a lot of heart. And he impressed me because he had like 26 points, like 9 assists, and he willed them to a win. That's what like Purdue doesn't have. Like they don't have a dog like that. Like that's just gonna will them, like lead them. Like that's what was missing in the Purdue game. Like they were just kind of, they got shell shocked and they couldn't recover. But that K-State guy, man, like he will not go down easy, man. I like that K-State guard, but of course I like, Michigan State also because I'm a Big Ten guy. Of course, Michigan's my team, but Michigan State is very good, and in my opinion, Michigan and Michigan State are the two best teams in the Big Ten when they usually get in the tournament. They usually go far. Everyone else, I think, is kind of suspect, but Michigan and Michigan State usually always go on some good runs. I think they're kind of like they kind of keep the Big Ten together, I guess, in the tournament because they've been to multiple Final Fours, and unfortunately, they just can't win very many championship games. They lose a lot in the championship game, but I'm watching K-State and Michigan State. But like you said, Monty, Tom Izzo is a great coach, and it'll be nice to see him get another ring. I mean, because it's what he does for that program and for college basketball in general, kind of like the old Duke head coach. I mean, like they've been around for a long time, and yeah, he deserves to get another ring. So yeah, I'm gonna try to watch K-State, Michigan State, but I do have two teams left in the Final Four. I didn't change my bracket. I'm staying as is. One side's completely busted, my Purdue side. But I still have actually I got three teams actually still in the final. I'm sorry, two teams, UConn and Houston, because I had Alabama getting upset in the Elite Eight, and that was probably a mistake. But I still got UConn, Houston, and believe it or not, UConn's been playing good too. They've looked dominant their first two games, so I'm not counting them out either. I mean, I know they have a kind of like an up and down season, but right now they're playing some good ball, and they're playing good at the right time. So I still wouldn't count those guys out. I can't remember who their matchup is against. Who's UConn playing? It was supposed to be it's Arkansas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Dwayne already said. Yeah, because it should have been because I had Kansas. Yeah, that's those. They both got really good big guys. UConn has a really good big guy, Sonogo. I like him. He's a beast. So I think that's going to be a good matchup with big guys in that game, like Dwayne already mentioned. So that's what I got.
Yeah. So I mean, I really, it's really hard for me to see any real threat of any blowouts with any of these games left in the Sweet 16. The way these teams that made it to the Sweet 16 are playing. I just want to see how Alabama, the way Miami has been playing lights out and found their groove. But I will say this: if Isaiah Wong doesn't show up, they will have problems. They're going to need him this game. And luckily he didn't really have his best game. But because you give Miami credit, they play some awesome team ball and they clamp down on defense and all their shots seemed to fall when it counted. I mean, give them credit, but they're going to need Isaiah Wong against these big men, this front court of U of H. Because if he doesn't show up, I don't see Miami winning this thing. But that's just my little 2 cents with that. So I see a lot of intriguing games. I really don't see no blowouts. We're probably going to get, about a plethora of nail biters, maybe even a couple of buzzer beaters. So welcome to the Sweet 16, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's been a great tournament so far. Of course, there's always upsets, but I think this is the most upsets I've seen in a long time in the first two rounds. I mean, it's been like, man, every time you turn around, someone is getting upset. I'm like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, imagine if Miami would have gotten knocked out, there wouldn't have been an ACC team in the Sweet 16 since '79. So Miami's the leader of that conference right now, which is crazy. No North Carolina, no Duke. Well, Kentucky's not in the ACC, but they're not in there either. Imagine that. This may have been the best tournament the games I was able to watch, the best I've seen.
Agreed.
I agree. It's been really good. I'm not a Kentucky fan, but I really admired their big man. That Kentucky big man, I didn't know he was a senior. I thought he was one of their like fabulous freshmen. But then you look at that dude's body; he's a beast. He looks like a senior because you could tell he's been in the gym for a while. Like, you don't look like no freshman, but he had 25 points and like 18 rebounds, and they still lost, the K-State, but he did his thing, man. So I give him credit for staying 4 years in college, and he didn't leave early. He probably could have went to the NBA last year, and he didn't. He wanted to do one more season, one more year at Kentucky, and I give him tremendous credit for that. Like I said, I'm not a Kentucky guy. I'm not big on Calipari, but I would never disrespect players. These players are playing their hearts out, and
Right.
yeah, and that guy played he played his heart out, man. It's too bad they lost because he was a beast out there, man. So,
Yeah, agreed. Well, gentlemen, I mean, off to the I'm looking forward to our next segment, because the next segment should be the biggest segment, which we're going to be discussing the top Final Four teams that make it. And so I am definitely hoping that the remainder of my Final Four picks remain in contention. But I believe this is going to be one heck of a wild weekend, from the Sweet 16 to the Big 8 and then on to the Final Four. So we want to just thank y'all for joining us for our second segment today. We want to thank you for y'all participation and y'all love and support. And we're just on here just to have some fun. And that's why we call it From the Grid to the Rim and everything in between regarding sports talk. So as you know, I'm your co-host. My name is Darylyn Brown. Again, my other co-host, Monty Brown, and our boy we call Big Ken and Fry. So we want to thank y'all for tuning into this segment, and we hope to give you more when it comes to the Final Four. So we say salute. Thank y'all for joining us, and see you next time on the Grid to the Rim.
See you next time. Leave your comments and your picks, whether you agree or disagree with us. We'd love to hear from you guys out there as well.
agreed. Same.
Absolutely.
See you guys next time.
All right,
All right.
salute. Have a good one, gentlemen.